No pressure.
Hurry up, Raheemah, hurry up.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Oh, my laptop is flying here off my legs.
Oh.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome from Oudtshoorn. I am live sitting on my bed with my good man Peter next to me and my compression legs on after my cycle today of 123 kilometers. I am chilling, and we are going to have a conversation with Raheemah, Sidney, and Saleem about how sport has changed their lives. So let's start with Saleem. Saleem, assalamu alaikum. Tell us a little bit about who you are, my good man.
Wa alaikum salam, Elton. Well, you know, you've said it. My name's Saleem Mukuddem. I'm born and bred in Cape Town. Grew up in Rylands, went to school at your alma mater, Bally's. You know, I'm lucky to have found myself working overseas in Bermuda for 9 years. Managed to get myself selected to play international cricket at an ICC event. Have been back in Cape Town since 2008. I'm a father of one. My son is 17. Happily married to my first girlfriend. Working in the NGO space. I work for an organization called Ilifa Labantwana, which is the Xhosa word for children's inheritance. And we operate in the early childhood development space. You know, many years ago, I took a decision to move away about pushing products and working for a purpose. And that is where I found my true calling. At the tender age of 50, which was last year, I got picked to represent the South Africa over 50 veterans team and not the pensioners, as some people call us. You know, and I'm still very active in the community. I'm chairman of Rylands Cricket Club. I still pray for them. The field at Rylands is named after my dad. You know, Sid, I remember seeing him at the gym at Virgin Active. I was there today, which is why I'm drinking water. You know, the older you get, the struggle becomes more real and more real. So that's me in a nutshell, Elton. And I've played sports since I was 12, and in 4 months' time exactly, I'll be 52. So that's almost 40 years.
Saleem, I remember you at high school, and you and I were in Red House together at Dogravia High. You know, those are the good days when sport was alive and well at school.
Elton, they say as you get older, the memory plays tricks on you. I was actually in Greenhouse.
Why did I think you were in Red House for some other reason?
Yeah, Mr. Orange and Mr. Lamara, and you know, those guys will still be on our case. But yeah, sports was an integral part of my life at school as well.
Absolutely. Saleem, and I had an interesting interview today on CCFM, and this thing I'm doing is the cycle I'm doing is to raise funds for an ECD project, and my comment was that we stand on the shoulders of the giants who fought for liberation, who fought for unification in sport, and now these ECD youngsters, kids, need to stand on our shoulders, and we need to take them to the next level. So big ups to you for doing that and taking that step. Sidney Cameron.
What's up? How's it?
With a lovely ball clean head. How's it?
Yeah, it's one of those things. I think you're just like you attract these kind of people, eh? The people with bald heads. I don't know. Maybe we shine a little bit brighter than most, but I don't know what it is. Might be that. What's up? So my story. I was a provincial athlete at school, 100 and 200. Played rugby. That is kind of where it started. Went overseas for a year after that as a gap year student and worked at a college called Riken, where I played for the county sides rugby on that side for about just a season. We won the county triangular tournament while we were there. Came back and honestly didn't know what I wanted to do. I wanted to start out being a doctor, then a physio, then a bio, and funds didn't allow for any of all of those things at that point in time. My grades were good enough, but I didn't understand about bursaries and all of that kind of things, because, you know, when you grow up in Grassy Park as a pastor's kid, that's not kind of like the lineage that people want to like put you through. So anyway, joined Virgin Active, unqualified, and worked my way up to become a group exercise manager over time, and then resigned, went to go work half day on the floor. So I was earning like not a good salary, but I reduced my salary by 4 in order to go onto the floor to wait for a personal training position to come available. Went into personal training, quadrupled my salary within the first month. And that is kind of like the whole story. 10 years later, COVID decides to come in and say, how's it? And being self-employed as a tenant of the gym, it just basically means you're on your ace. And that's when Smash It got launched. And I've always been somebody who used to turn it around and say, listen, you're going to smash it, right? Everything we're going to do, we're going to smash it in the workout. Let's smash it in your life, smash it. That's kind of like my motto. So I use that as the logo to develop the business and And now we have a full-on lifestyle coaching plan that we offer people all the way through to personal training, working on injuries, helping people to rehab, and then helping them eventually to fall in love with themselves again. And that's kind of been the journey. I am going to be a dad, which is fantastic after 10 years of being married to my lovely wife. After having a dream on the second day of honeymoon, we had I woke up and I turned around, didn't knock my wife out. I woke her up and I said to her, listen, I dreamed that we're having a boy and his name is Ethan. Meet him in the dream. 10 years later, the boy is coming in December and his name is Ethan. So yeah, super excited. There's lots of good stuff going on. So yeah, but yeah, basically I do what I do because I'm passionate about people. I'm passionate about what they want to do. I don't put people in boxes. I don't believe that those exist. There is no one size fits all, and slow is a speed too.
Absolutely, and I'm sure Janae is obviously very excited about Ethan coming, and so are all the grandparents to be.
Oh, hey, we're not going to. Let's not talk about that. We're here to raise funds for you, not for me. The delivery fees are expensive nowadays. You know, so
wait till you find out the price of nappies, Sid.
Oh, don't even get me, brother. I heard about that.
Listen, gents, there's somebody who knows about nappies. Is that auntie? Is that auntie? Raheemah, good evening. Assalamu alaikum. Tell us about the price of nappies firstly before you tell us.
That's not a good topic to start on, eh? The fundraising needs to
Raheemah, how many children? Tell us quickly.
I have 3.
Why are you going on mute?
Are you with me?
Again? You have how many?
I said I have 3.
Just tell us again how many children you have.
And I have 2 under 2, so I've got 2 on nappies. Yeah.
You see, Saleem? You see, Sidney? I told you this lady will know what the cost of nappies are.
No. Send me your bank account details. I'd like to
ask me anyone.
I'd like
I know
to
brand size.
No, I've been told about the nappies, and they just say that just goes straight towards. You just keep that fund and that budget because that becomes part of your school fees budget in the future. So,
correct.
Yeah,
it doesn't last long. It will last 1 month and it's finished.
Okay.
Raheemah, tell us who you are and what you do.
My name is Raheemah. I am 30 years old. So I was born into tourism. That was always my passion, my drive. Like I was raised with both parents in the foot of tourism as well. So I knew that was my where I wanted to go. About 2004, my father passed away from cancer. And then we moved to Mitchell's Plain. And when we moved to Mitchell's Plain, I met a very special man. And he introduced me to a sport called dragon boat racing. I've never heard about it before. I've never been interested in sports before. And at the time, so a dragon boat has 22 people that is seated on the boat, and he was short ladies. And so he used that opportunity to introduce me into the sport. And at the time, he was telling me about how they traveled to Florida and Joburg and Hermanus to do all these lovely races. And so, as a new girlfriend, I thought, oh, I get to travel with this new sport. He still hasn't taken me anywhere. I've been pregnant each time. So yeah, I'm still waiting on my trip.
Raheemah,
So yeah, so
Raheemah, say shukran to your husband for the pickup lines. Now I know what to use to find a girlfriend. I'm gonna take her traveling.
yeah, it
Meteen 'n
worked.
dragonboat.
Okay? It worked.
Yeah,
10 years later, I'm still in the sport.
exactly.
Oh, thanks.
So we so yeah, so
Okay.
my husband is he's the owner of the club. So that's how I got introduced into the sport. And yeah, we started out as a very small school club. And yeah, very small and underprivileged. Everyone was doing homework, could hardly make it to training, that sort of thing. Everyone needs lifts. You know, we get 7 people in a car and we transport through to town. Yeah, so that is what it was like for a very long time. I mean, we did training 3-4 times a week, in waterfront or canal walk. We also have a venue at Zikoflei Nature Reserve. So we also train there, and yeah, that's how we train. And so now we've got bigger visions. I mean, we there's not a lot of people that know about what dragon boat racing is, and so we are trying to get more people involved. There's lots of races. We're a very small community in Cape Town, only 8 clubs. 8 local clubs, and so yeah, we definitely want to get that exposure and get more people interested so that we can get the sport running internationally, and so that we can travel and get more races here in Cape Town.
And what's the name of the club? Please tell us the name of the club.
Ooh, Dragon Hariyoshi.
There we go. Yeah, Saleem.
Say that 10 times.
I won't ask you to repeat it, Saleem. It's okay.
No, ask him.
So here's a question to each of you. What do you do when you're not doing your sport? When you're not doing dragon boating, when you're not busy with Smash It, Saleem, when you're not on the cricket field, what do you guys actually do? And for those who've tuned in on Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn, you're welcome to pop a question to these 3 fine guests or a comment. Let's open the floor. Let's start with Saleem. What do you do when you're not gainfully employed on the cricket field or in the NGO, sir?
Elton, why are you picking on the old guy? Look, for me, it's simple. It's actually simple, and it's a guilty pleasure. I read. You know, COVID, funny enough, you know, was a time when we were left by ourselves. We couldn't go out, and I kind of felt guilty because it gave me time with books. You know, and it's funny how, you know, and before I worked for Elifa, I worked for an NGO called Nalibali, which was a literacy organized NGO that promote literacy in mother tongue, right? And for me, it's just, you know, it's the cornerstone of a lot of things that we need to do. You know, I often say to people, the first word that was revealed for the Quran was Iqra, which is a command to read, right? Because reading brings understanding, understanding brings empathy, it brings compassion, it brings insight. It just, anyway, so yeah, so I mean, and I read anything and everything. I'm currently reading Johnny Clegg's Scatterlings of Africa. I'm a big Lee Childs, David Baldacci fan. I love biographies of sports people. But it's, you know, it's a very broad and diverse topic, because also that time when I read, I'm actually quiet, right? People say I talk a lot. My siblings will all argue that I talk a lot. And funny enough, my counter argument is also but I read a lot, and I don't speak when I read, and I can't read in a noisy place. So for me, that's sort of my fortress of solitude, if you want, and that's my time to connect, to reflect, to escape your harsh realities. And I sometimes get moody. My work colleagues might tell you, my family, if I didn't get a chance to read. So, no matter what time I go to bed, the book is there. I have no problem standing in queues. I remember when we had to queue for COVID vaccinations, people would complain and try to find out where's the shortest queue. I don't actually remember queuing because I usually have a book with me. Home Affairs, Traffic Department, you name it. I take my wife to Wembley. I sit in the car with a book. So that is how I actually pass my time, when I'm not working, when I'm not playing cricket, when I'm not involved in anything that requires, brain power.
Salim, is there a particular genre of books, or do you just read enige ding wat oor jou desk kom?
No, so look, it's whatever tickles my fancy, right? I mean, so I've got Steve Biko's autobiography. I read what I want on my desk. I picked up. So I go through moods, like I told you. Jack Reacher, the Lee Charles character. That's a series on Amazon Plus. There's 27 books. I finished all of them. David Baldacci, who's a crime writer. So I love thrillers. I love crime, but I also read different things. I mean, a couple of years I read, there was a book, something like, I think it's called Gangsters in Cape Town or Gangtown. It's a book about crime and gangsterism in Cape Town and in the in our communities. I read a book of Mamfela Ramfela that talks about the study that she did about kids in townships. So it's whatever tickles my fancy at the time, because I can only be the smarter, the wiser for it. I see things through different people's eyes. A bit like reading Johnny Clegg's book, him growing up as a white boy interested in Zulu culture. I'm like thinking to myself, it's preposterous, but it gives me insight to things that I necessarily would not have had insight into myself in my own daily life.
And that's the benefit of a book. It takes you and it transforms you into a different space, whether it's an academic book or whether it's a novel, fiction or non-fiction. It just takes you away from the realities of what you find yourself. The problem is you get caught up in it, that you want to read the book cover to cover and forget about the rest of the world, Salim.
Yeah. Look, I mean, sometimes, Alton, you do pick up something and it's slow to get into it, right? And then as you persevere, you realize, okay, that wasn't so bad. Often if you go on Instagram or anywhere, they tell you life is too short. Don't read something that you don't enjoy. Put it down and start over. But I always remember my mother would tell me, to eat all your food on the plate, don't waste. And I, for one, hate waste and I hate inefficiencies. So I do, like the tailors say, measure twice and you cut once. I do spend a lot of time looking at the book, looking at the cover, and I actually visualize, so visualization for any sport, I actually visualize, is this something that I want to read? Will I put the time and effort into it now that I've committed to it? So yeah, it's, but it's a broad range, because I don't think, I think Sid was talking about not putting people in boxes. And I, funny enough, do put people in boxes until they convince me I must take them out of that box and put them into a different box, right? So reading also just exposes me, to other people's battles and challenges and experiences. So, we often think that what we're experiencing is unique to us. It's our burden alone to bear. And then when you realize, but somebody else has walked this path, and somebody else has, tackled this journey in a different way. How do we do that? So from reading from Sachin Tendulkar, Brian Lara, Shane Warne, Matthew McConaughey, right? Even the guy that was held captive by Al Qaeda for 6 years. So my range is very broad. I mean, I can add children's books to that list if you want, because we read to my son. Not that he's a reader, but at least I can now know the books. I mean, Raheemah will know, how many times she will have to read the same book and the same page over and over and over again. at that time with the kids is special. It's, you know, whether they grow up as readers or not. But for me, it's just, you know, it opens your mind to such a lot of things, especially in today's world. And I am giving my age away, where everything is on social media. You believe what you read. Somebody else shares an opinion. Now it becomes your opinion, right? And then we latch onto a thought or a wave without questioning it ourselves, without, you know, using our own thoughts to say, is that also my view, right? And the reading, because it takes time. It's, you know, it takes time. You got to do your back end work. Nobody's going to write the book overnight, you know, with facts and data that I seem to, you know, be able to digest better. And then at the end of the day, I can make a decision of saying, was that useful? Is there parts of it that I've taken out? You know, and for me, life changing. So I'm an Indian kid growing up in Rylands. You know, I was a spoiled brat. I did nothing until I got married. You know, my mom did everything for me. And a couple of years ago, I read Marie Kondo's The Magic of Tidying Up, and it changed my life.
Now your wife is happy that you do all the kitchen cleaning.
No, now everything is super organized in colors and in containers, indoors. That's what happened.
Because we've reached a stage where the noise around us affects our thoughts, and mental wellness has become a very popular and relevant topic, right? So something like simple as Marie Kondo that talks about a decluttered space leads to a decluttered mind, right? Knowing where things are and each on its place. For me, so that's just, you know, it's one of those things. And if ever, you know, something that has changed my life ever, there's a book called Atomic Habits by a guy called James Clear that gives you really bite-sized chunks of how the brain forms new pathways, new habits. And it's absolutely fascinating. So you're in my tender age, in between innings, waiting to bat. If I got out for a duck and now you're sitting on the side, you know, you grab a book and you, yeah. So the spectrum is very, very, very broad. What I read, so I'm extremely proud. I think it was 2021, right? I set myself a goal to read 50 books. I ended up reading 36,000 pages in the year. It was 94 books, right? And for me, you know, but COVID, remember, we were locked down. There was, you know, a lot of stuff, so you had a lot of time, and there was no sports. There was no sports on TV. You couldn't go outside. Gym was closed, right? But I mean, 2023, my total is only at 22 now. You know, so I'm not going to reach that levels again. But the point is, you know, you make the time to do the things that you want to do. You know,
Absolutely,
it's really, really important.
Absolutely, Sid. What do you do other than smash it?
I still smash it.
And go baby shopping for nappies?
We either smash it hard, or we smash it soft, or we smash it somewhere in between. But we continue to smash it. So it doesn't matter what you do. But in a nutshell, for me, what I do when I'm not working, it's I spend time bonsaiing, believe it or not. I've been training a couple of bonsais. Yeah, so randomness. So like far wing left, like not expected. But I bonsai. So I've got a couple of trees, 3 of them. One is 25 years old, another one's 7, and another one is like 4. And I've been training it and tweaking it and bending it and shaping it and pruning it and fertilizing it. And for me, it's kind of like symbolic of seasons that we go through, which is like you have your summer season and your winter season and your autumn. And sometimes the tree looks like it's dying, which is basically like sometimes that's what's happening in our own lives. And then when spring comes and you see these little buds coming out, all of a sudden I get excited. That's almost like my children. But it's one of those things that I do in my off time, and it doesn't take a lot of time, but it does take time. Other thing I do is I enjoy spending time in nature. For me, hiking, anything green, give me green or blue as a belief. It can be by the ocean or it can be in the mountain, and sometimes we do some overnight hikes, which we haven't been able to do because Cape Nature is a little bit all over the place at the moment, and we're not able to get out to do that with the crew that we normally do. So I haven't been doing that as often as I'd like to. And then braaiing and rugby. geez Louise, like I don't know if the braaiing and the rugby goes together, but that is kind of like what I do. And then obviously Sundays we dedicate to God, and we make sure that we start the week off right, and we carry that relationship with us all the time. So those are pretty much the all that I do, and the rest of my private life stays private. You will never see it anyway.
But private life, look at you. Look at you, my
Mm.
private life. But I can
No.
nod my head for books that I've read. When Saleem gives books, you're like, yeah, I know that book.
Mm.
Eh?
Now, my favorite book, and pretty much what Smash It is built on, is Seven Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. It's that Atomic Habits is kind of like the watered down version of what Stephen Covey does and covers in his books. So a lot of what I do is governed around that, because I need to help people to become more efficient at what they do, so that they can become more productive, so that they can do more, not do less, so that they have more time to do the things that they want. So it's about following through with starting with the end in mind, and then working your way to seek to understand, and then eventually you get to the last habit where you sharpen the saw. So once your lifestyle is built, we sharpen the saw again. We establish what is your goals. Are we still working to the end in mind? Where are we going? But that's Smash It. So you asked me, what do I do in my off time? Pretty much nothing, eh? Sit on my phone and I play games sometimes and stuff like that, just to tap out. I'm not a fan of TikTok, so YouTube Shorts has got me stuck sometimes for 45 minutes, and then I'm like, no, this is from the devil. Come, move away, you're stealing all of my time. But other than that, no, just pretty chill, dude. Easy.
And spending time with Junaid, definitely.
Not as often as I'd like. I mean, being self-employed and running a business does require you to sacrifice a few things, and one of them is time. But Janae and I connect frequently, so it's important to do that right now. And then with baby coming, it's going to become even more important. I for it. So we'll get there. Don't worry.
And you got enough people here. I'll send you everybody's numbers, because
Oh, please do.
all of us have had kids already, so we've been through the drama.
Yeah, Raheemah, you must tell me where you're buying your nappies, because I know in Mitchell's Plain they sell it cheaper.
Raheemah, what do you do when you're not doing tourism?
With my own personal wholesale stuff. My factory here next door.
So Raheemah, when you're not buying nappies, when you don't have 3 children, when you're not doing dragon boating and you're not working, what do you and Idris do? I mean, like, really? Is there still time in a day?
Yeah, there isn't time in the day. There isn't time in the day. When I'm not working, I work in tourism, so there is never a not working period. Like, we have to be available to our clients all the time if they need anything, because I'm in consulting. And yeah, I'm a mother of 3, a very new baby in the family. She's now 8 months. My little one is the middle one is 2, the other one is 6. She just started school this year, so very excited for her. So yeah, I mean, are there any ends to demands of kids? It's just always something all the time. And a wife to a husband, so there's needs there too. My husband is also a musician in the Cape Malay choir, so practice until late nights after Dragon Boat practice, and then we go and watch his shows and support. He also sings, so we go and watch those shows and support. We've got a big traditional family on both sides, so there's always family events. Someone's getting married somewhere, baby shower, someone's pregnant. So there's always something happening. And yeah, and other than that, like, because I'm in tourism, I also get an opportunity many times to experience new things, and so I always like to, take my kids to go and see those things. It's very special. I can say one thing about them, like, because of Dragon Boat, they are the most adventurous little kids. They don't have fear for anything. They love the water. They shout, "Mommy, Daddy!" Like, so that's amazing to expose them, to that, like, part of our world. Idris and I do? Like, Dragon Boat has just always been Dragon Boat. Like, it's something that he's very passionate about. He's always had big goals and plans for travel internationally to compete and things like that. So, we've always just been driven. Like, I've never been a competitive person, and so he's pushed that in me. Like, he coaches us and he mentors, he talks and that, and so we've just always like wanted to better ourselves, like physically, think better, get healthier. After I had my kids, I did have a bit of a dip. You know how it is, like ladies put on weight, and I was so demotivated, like after I put on the weight. And you get these thoughts in your head, dark thoughts, especially when you're on maternity leave and you're by yourself, and like, you're at home all the time. There's nobody around to help and that. So, and you're the coach's wife. You can't put on weight. You can't look, a certain way. And so I took a very big dip, got depressed, all of that. And so that motivation to get better, to think better, to help my kids, like to be that inspiration for my kids and to be stronger. That was my main goal. I wanted to be a part of that international team. So I needed to get better my time and that. So I was ready. I worked very hard. I'm very excited for what the future brings for sports and in our lives. I mean, our kids are very, very young. And we are young. so so yeah.
So you and Salim, and to a lesser degree, Sydney spoke about mental health. So let me ask you, how do you manage it and how do you work it? Because it's and from my observation, it's become a real thing more now post COVID, because you realize that one, you were stuck at home and you had nowhere to go. You spoke to nobody. You had time to play with all these thoughts in your head, and you realize that life is short. So many people died who were close to us because of COVID, and it made us realize that tomorrow it could be us. How and
Yeah.
let's change the flow. Salim, I won't pick on you now. I'll start with Sydney. Sid, how do you manage? How do you coach your clients in terms of mental wellness? And for those at home on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, you're welcome to ask questions, comments on the chat, and I'll definitely share it. Leon, my legs are being energized right now because my compression boots on to answer your question. It's compression boots that will fix my legs. So Sid, tell us your story. How do you get people to be mentally well or to manage it better? Not necessarily well, but manage it better.
The funny thing is that I found and it's going to sound weird, by getting people off their devices and getting to bed at a regular time is part of how we start developing mental wellness. We've got to. It depends on the client, because, geez, like, mental wellness is such a vast thing, but it's all to do with triggering dopamine in individuals. How do we trigger dopamine? By completing tasks, by thinking about things that you want to do for the future, rather than focusing on, one, being depressed and living in the past, and two, being anxious about the future rather than planning for it. So a lot of mental wellness stems around the fact that I've got to get you to get triggers of dopamine throughout your day. So we start with, once you drink your glass of water in the morning, that's a dopamine hit straight away. Once you go to the bathroom, you make up your bed, you get done in the morning, you have your breakfast, dopamine. Once you get to your second cup of coffee, dopamine. All of these things trigger dopamine. So we get that part of it to facilitate the process. But when people are down in the dumps, it's often needed just for some common sense to be stepped in. A lot of the time, people are floating in the worst case scenario of what is going on in their lives, when they're so focused on the problem that it brings them down into this anxious or depressive state influencing their mental wellness, that sometimes just requires them to get a better perspective and to hear somebody on the outside looking in going, actually, it's not as bad as what you think it is. So that is the one way. Obviously, we know exercise has a big part to play in this. Every time you exercise, you're getting endorphins, which is another hormone structure that just comes into your system. So playing sport, dragon boating, cricket, even if it's for the what? What did you call it? The what proteins? The pension proteins.
The veterans, please don't get it wrong. Don't get it wrong. It's not pensioners.
I thought it was the pension proteins. Anyway, so whether or not, it doesn't matter what form of activity you're doing, it's that you're doing an activity frequently. And the last thing is when people finally start to see the results of what they are doing and the work that comes through. Yeah, that kind of joy and gratification and everything that follows through, that I don't want to say it because there are levels to mental wellness, but most of the general population, when they are achieving something in their lives, they won't feel like they are mentally ill. It's only when we are stuck in it and we can't see any way out, and then your inner critic starts to pop up and tells you all the things that are wrong in your life, and then you're stuck in that space. Once you're able to reframe the words of the critic, then automatically you start to see that the critic is giving you like a pinch of truth in the statement. I mean, last week I put out a post and I said, I'm fat. That was where I started the post. But the actual post said, you have fat and everybody does, but by changing the idea of I'm fat to you have fat, changes how your body's going to process, your mind's going to process those differences between the two. And when you realize that you have fat, it's your opportunity to do something about it. What is that? So it's about helping people to navigate that space and going, you know what? Actually, I'm not fat. I have fat. Let's start there. And just reframing the words that you tell yourself. And also with Saleem probably never has mental wellness issues because he's reading so much about everything else that he can't even focus on what's going on in his own life to do what he needs to do. So it's one of those things. But in that case, so with one of my clients, I actually asked them to put together a gratitude journal in the evening. So before they go to bed, they're going to put their device down and they're going to pick up a journal and they're going to start writing in a gratitude journal. You've got to give me 3 things every single night, basically, that you are grateful for. Because yes, there's stuff that's not working the way it's supposed to, but there's more things in this world that you can be grateful for than there aren't. So I hope that.
And that's the biggest key, Sid. It's finding the things that give us meaning. It's finding the things that keep us alive. I'll give you, and I'll come to you now, Raheemah. There's a thing called the wellness wheel, where it looks at 8 different dimensions: 1 emotional, 1 physical, your occupational, social, spiritual, intellectual,
Financial.
environmental, and financial. Right? Those are the 8 components that gives you meaning, and where you put the scale from 0 to 10 will determine for each of those what your level of ability and wellness is, which most people have never even spoken about. You know, Sean says, "Love the I am fat opposed to I am fat." Thank you, Sid, for this nugget.
No problem, Kofi. No problem. Just before you go to Raheemah, those 8 pillars of wellness that you spoke about, that is because I'm only qualified in 4 of the areas. I don't tackle all the others, but that's kind of like our future projections with Smash It, is to potentially become the only business that caters for all 8 areas of an individual and helps them. So drawing a financial advisor into the mixture of what we do to help somebody formulate budgets as well as future planning. And then from an environmental point of view, that could be your home, it could be your workplace, but also navigating socially. Some people are socially awkward and want to become introverts. I mean, COVID turned me from an extrovert. Saleem will know from Claremont, because I was the loudest dude on the floor. You would walk into the gym and you'd hear me laugh from as you access the turnstile. but I've become an introvert. So now that I work at Constantia, I'm just like, if you see me, you see me. If you don't see me, you don't see me. You'll hear me laugh every once in a while, but it's changed. And that's kind of part of what COVID's done. The challenge is that sometimes we put that mental wellness, we we can't dissociate between anxiety, depression, and burnout, because I think a lot of people are in burnout after COVID because they've gone from this almost sedentary kind of lifestyle to this full, fast-paced life again, and people are having a hard time finding their feet again in that journey, and this is causing them to hit that phase. But those 8 pillars of wellness, Alton, I kid you not, that is what people need to be focusing on. Forget just 4 of them. It's more than
Absolutely
that.
said. And the work from home space is pushing people into a burnout space more quicker, because you get up, you put on your device, and you start working. Oh, I need to check 3 emails quickly. You look again, it's an hour, 2 hours later,
Mhm.
and then you
Correct.
need to play catch up, and then your head just goes into a different space. Raheemah,
Mm.
are you tag out for 2 minutes while you deal with your kids? Saleem, let's go to you.
Elton, thanks, man. Sid, you know, it's one thing reading about stuff, but it's about having the awareness at times to know what to do. And even though you know what to do, we are human beings, right? We don't follow our own
Completely.
advices at time. So if I had to wake my or go fetch my son and talk to him how much I preach to him about the importance of sleep as a superpower. So I'm sure you would have listened to Matthew Walker.
Matthew Walker,
In my
yeah.
case, I've read his book about sleep as a superpower. Elton J. Lach,
You
I
it
agree
is
are.
with you.
mind-boggling. It is mind-boggling when the solution is right in front of us and
So
we choose
simple.
to do something else, right? Um,
Completely.
so for me also, you know, in line of sort of mental wellness is this importance of, and I think Sid mentioned it in his fat lens that you look at that term. You know, they often say the problem isn't the problem, it's how we think about the problem. That's the problem,
And how we
right? And
respond to it.
because we must know what our triggers are.
Mm.
And for me to deal with something, I must first be able to identify it, right? Then
Correct.
I'm aware of it, and then I need to find I have my own internal mechanisms to deal with it,
Mm.
whether that is detaching, whether that's going for a walk. And Sid, you know, I made some notes when Elton says to me, we're going to talk about, you know, sports and what it means. And I talk about
Mm.
how the feel good drugs that the brain gets, the chemicals, you know, you mentioned
Completely.
them, that if we don't get it from sports, the youth turns to, you know, unhealthy sexual behavior, drug abuse,
Mm.
alcohol abuse. You know, we stick to our phones because it gives us that fix, right? I mean, when
The
we were
dopamine.
younger, yes, the phone wasn't there, and you had to go get your kids, go and play sports, go and do stuff outside in the outdoors. You come home, you move, you bond, you interact with your tribe. You
Mm.
know, and having some sort of a support structure to bounce things off does make things easier, right? And I,
Completely.
for one, and, you know, as I've said this before, people say I talk a lot, but one thing that I practice really hard is to be a good listener, right? Because it's really important to sometimes be there for someone and just listen. Don't pass judgment. Don't give advice. You know, just be to listen. So I don't know if either of you guys watched the series Ted Lasso, right? And Ted Lasso, Elton, is a show. I think it's on Apple TV. It is absolutely brilliant, and it tackles this issue about mental health in a sports setting. Um, Especially for males, right? Because we all live in a society where men must be macho and you can't show emotion and you must be able to tackle all the world's problems in your shoulders and take it upon yourself,
Mm.
right? And you can't show weakness and you can't show emotion. It's how
Mm.
do we turn that narrative completely in your head and say, but it's okay. It's okay for me to be someone that they look at to say, but you must have the
Mm.
answers. And I'm saying, but I don't have the answer. You know, so I do have those moments of weakness, you know,
Mm.
but it's just how do you reset and you try again, right? You
Mm.
don't make a big deal about about the failure or the issue, you know, and I often find myself in work environment where that plays out, where I have a boss, or whether it's somebody else that reports to me. It's that awareness of what you play in that role. And I said, Elton, sports, going to gym, going to cricket practice, going for a walk, playing cricket. You know, my wife would often say to me, but it's raining, why would you go to the field? Right? And only cricketers will understand this, and only cricketers' wives and girlfriends won't understand this. But that's my space, right? That's my space with my book, with my teammates, with my tribe. You do silly, stupid things, but that's what you need to recharge your battery. So it's really, really important. You know, even in the Raheemah's case, her family consumes her time, but it's really important, you know, for her. And I think what you say, her husband's name is Idris, you know, to find time for themselves, even if it's small things, right? I mean, that's almost in my case is one time when you need to be selfish, right? The kids will be okay, you know, because we always sometimes become and do everything for our kids at our own expense. So for me, it's just finding those things that gives you joy. And again, that's the Marie Kondo saying that I've just quoted. But it's a real in our lives, right? I mean, Sid, there's also this book about a guy that says you must learn effortless, and it talks about saying no. Why must I take on somebody else's luggage? You know, and just very recently, talking to a teenager, I heard this concept about trauma dumping, right? And you think to yourself, you know, so the teenagers, one dumps their trauma onto another, but we don't appreciate that the dumpee might have issues to deal with all this stuff now, right? That they don't want. So yeah, man. So for me, it's about making time. You know, so I sit on my backside whole day on a really comfortable chair. But if I don't say enough is enough, the work will still be there, and I get my butt off at 3:45 so I can get to Osanele's boxing class at 4:00. It's not going to happen, right?
Completely.
It's not going to happen. So I really make a point because that's my fix, right? So if I'm not going to make time and effort for that, then I'm going to allow myself to have this victim mentality. Oh, I can't do anything about it. I didn't have a choice. And for me, it's really important to take ownership of it. Your time is your most precious commodity, right?
And Salim, once today this minute is gone, it's never coming back, and we need to be cognizant of that all the time. Raheemah, what do you do from a mental health perspective? It's big on your agenda, so tell us your view.
And right is
unmute. You need to unmute.
Let me unmute you. There you go.
Raheemah's mic is very sensitive.
Go for it, Raheemah. Go for it.
I was saying, like, right as you call my name, my baby starts crying. It's like right on the money. The kids.
So tell us your view from a mental health perspective.
Just from a personal perspective, like the first thing that comes to mind is like work stress. It's always work. Like you always feel pressured to reach goals, bring commissions. Like there's always someone that needs your attention, and if that is not met, then the popo hits the fan, everyone's in trouble, that kind of thing. So work stress is always something that is sorry, I'm gonna have to run. So yeah, work stress is one of the first things that comes to mind. Just give me 1 minute.
Sid, you heard it, baby cry, brother.
That's gonna be my life soon. But let's see what happens. Sorry.
But what I find is very important is to.
Hello. Hi. Sorry, you can continue on mute now.
So yeah, what is very important first to do is to set those boundaries. You know, to set boundaries at work. We are so especially now in our lives where it's flexible times. You have access to your laptop. Your emails are on your phone. So there's always someone that needs your attention. And so those boundaries where it oversteps, where, when does it stop with the emails and you start paying attention to the kids? Your kids are screaming, they want this, they want that. There's always some sort of, someone needs your attention, especially as a mother role. So there's always someone's hungry. This one's fighting, the teasing. I've got young kids. It's always crazy, yeah. So yeah, and then that adds up. You get stressed out because this one's looking for your attention. Your kids are screaming. You didn't make food yet. That kind of stuff. So it plays a big role. There's a lot of things that comes to mind. Like I'm thinking, I work in tourism. In the beginning, when COVID started, we were so busy canceling everything. The borders are closed. Like what the services are closed, the hotels are closed. Like how are you making money? Now it's the house stress. Who's gonna pay the bills? Like where the food gonna come from? Like so it's all these added stresses of the things that you are thinking of that like that will affect your life and those worries that come with it. So in the beginning, like obviously we had no access to gyms, so my husband bought a rowing machine, and I looked. He bought it without telling me, so I thought, we are on the water 4 times a week. Why would you buy a rowing machine? That makes no sense. And when we got the row, and then when COVID hit and everything was closed, we're not allowed to go on the water anymore. I was like, okay, bring out the rowing machine. He's like, no, he gave it away. You didn't want it. What? What do you mean I didn't want it? So yeah, it was and then eventually he's like, no, it's just that his brother, like we can ask him to bring it back. And so he did. And that, like the time, when you're at home and you feel like you don't have any purpose, there's no clients anymore. At the time I only had one baby at home. So like you think your stress is like super overwhelming with one child. Now I've got 3. Like I had no problems back then. Now that I think about it. So yeah, like the it's not just keeping active. It's because a lot of people don't even have sports in their lives, but the having
Is it me or is it Raheemah?
I think it's Raheemah.
Okay. So
You know,
we'll come back
Elton,
to
and
it.
if I
Yeah.
can quickly, and Sid might also even agree with this, right? Like as we go through our days, I'm a fairly religious guy. I do what I must,
Mhm.
right? And it's that belief that you don't get burdened with something that you can't bear. And coupled with that is this belief that after hardship comes ease, right? And those are 2 little things that I always try to remind myself. Small little things. Somebody irritates me, somebody upsets me, some drama or something happens in my life where, instead of thinking like, it's why me, it's thank you, it's me, right? So this is given to me as a test because I was sure because I can bear it, right? And after this hardship will come the ease. So those are just sort of 2 things that I think is really important from a not I won't say mental, it's just an overall wellness perspective to look at
Yeah,
things.
completely. Salim, I mean, I can't agree with you more. And I think this is where the challenge comes in. I mean, I'm raised in a proper
Mm.
Baptist Christian church environment. So my dad is a pastor. I was raised as a pastor's kid, and that was something that was installed from inside the womb. Probably they probably started praying somewhere there in the womb already. But anyway, so that has been a cornerstone and foundation of everything that has been in my life. I can't say that I could be where I am without having that relationship with him in my life. I mean, you talk about the idea of if there's a test or something that comes your way and cultivate certain things. Inside of Christianity, we speak about the developments of the fruits of the Spirit: kindness, meekness, mildness, love, all of those things that sit inside of Galatians. We speak about that. And in order to develop the fruits, you've got to get the opposite of it to get the fruit. So you've got to get somebody who is unlovable to teach you how to love. You've got to get somebody in your life that's unkind in order to teach you to be kind. And you are meant to show the opposite of what you're receiving from that individual in order to show love. Because ultimately, everything you are supposed to do, you are supposed to do in love. And that's kind of like where all of this like just starts to fit together. But it's also those dark days where you've got no one to speak to. And then you've got your moment where you just like connect and the heavens open and you just like, I know you hear me, man. I know that you hear me. Do you know, side story quickly, if you don't mind. I know we're almost out of time, but side story. We went through fertility treatment to get where we are today. There was complications that happened. We spent the last couple of cents in the last treatment, and then there was no more money. And anyway, the test came back negative. And the two of us were sitting on the couch. Obviously, we were both quite sad about the idea that we've gone through all of this process and still nothing. Got a phone call from Janae's mother-in-law. My mother-in-law, not Janae's mother-in-law, that would be my mommy. So from my mother-in-law, and she turned it around and said, don't worry, I'm going to pay for the next treatment. We had to go from a spiritual perspective, we had to go from giving, which we did for most people in our lives, to the part of receiving. If I had said no, we would not be expecting Ethan in 2 months' time. So from a spiritual perspective, there's so many lessons that get taught in that specific pillar of wellness that it's almost, you can't negate the value of it in your life. Because without it, like, what are you drawing on?
You know, I mean, this conversation, we've only just tipped the touched the tip of the iceberg. There's a million other components which we will get to. We'll have to have all of you back on again at some point
in time.
You know, when your 3 schedules are available, because you guys are busy. You know, I'm here every Wednesday. I can't guarantee stuff for the 3 of you.
So Elton asked me to join, and I asked him, did he run out of interesting people? So he sent us a message.
I was like, what am I doing on the show?
You know, I needed two bold guys and a woman. You know, I needed to balance. So guys and lady, in conclusion, because I know Raheemah's got babies to deal with, and Saleem's got a book, and Ethan's soon to be dad has got other responsibilities. I'm gonna ask you all just to round up and say and give your views on the balance between wellness, mental health, and the sport that you do. Why you do it, and why would you encourage me to do it who doesn't do sport? Make sense? What is your what is your elevator to get someone to do sport and the benefits thereof? Simple. Anybody can go first.
Let me go, because I've written down something here, right, in preparation. Right?
Quick.
So for me, this thing about sports, you know, besides the fact that there's teamwork, it teaches you so much about yourself, right? But competition, grit, compassion, empathy, leadership, you know, how to deal with loss, resilience, hard work, setting goals, perseverance, you know, how to share your joy, how to go ask for help. You know, it's all of those things and so much more. It's one of those things that once you start, and I said to my son, I don't care what sport you play, as long as you play in sport. I don't care what team you play, as long as you play something, whether it's hitting a golf ball over the driving range, or hitting a tennis ball, or going playing the rugby in the 10th team, right? It's just go out there and start something and do it, right? Because they always say with habits, the hardest part is not doing something. And I actually learned that lesson in work as well. Something caused me stress and I just did it. Doesn't have to be perfect, but just make the decision to do it. The people that I've met, the countries that I've been to, the connections, the stories I can tell as a result of the sport, whether you are excelling in it or whether you are the guy who's batting number 11 who they pick to fill the team, is irrelevant. You're doing yourself, you've got nothing to lose. Just do it, as the Nike slogan says.
And it's about consistency, Saleem. If you're not consistent about what you're doing and purposeful in your planning and in your execution, it defeats the purpose.
Yeah, and Elton, and it's not about you're going to try one sport. If that doesn't work, then that's it. I'm done with sports. There's a gazillion things that qualify as sports these days. Go out and find it. If something doesn't work for you, doesn't tickle your fancy, do something else. We're not all built to hike, but some of us can play paddle. Some of us can, go to gym. You can walk. There's a gazillion things that all give you the same feeling that all the other bad stuff that we're trying to stay away from us give us as well.
Absolutely.
The only sport that doesn't do that is chess. The only sport that doesn't do that is chess.
This is a sport. Let's not get into that debate. Raheemah, from your perspective?
That you said you're not going to offend anybody.
Sorry. But if you would like to contribute to Alton's
No,
we can do that.
We'll get to that now, sir. Hold on, let's go to Raheemah first. Go, Raheemah, go.
No, I'm glad I'm talking first because Saleem took all my points.
And that's
from someone that has not been interested in sports like their whole life, like it. Yeah, Saleem was brilliant. Like, did he write his own book there?
Go, Raheemah.
So yeah, from someone that like did not have any sports like prior to being introduced to Dragon Boat, you learn so much about yourself in what it is that your own physical body is capable of doing. When you push yourself, when you have those goals, you get inspired by other superhumans that do these 46-kilometer marathons, and like I can't even do a sprint, but that it inspires you to start. And now it's something that we do every week. We go out and we go and run, before work if we get there early, or after work if we get to training early. So yeah, the being like understanding your own body, what your physical capability is, and pushing yourself, driving yourself to achieve more. Like that is like something that I found in sport that I didn't have like in my day to day. Now you're part of a team sport. So the team that I'm a part of is 22 people in a crew. So you have that accountability. If you don't feel like going, there's someone to say, hey, are you going to be there? If you do feel like going, you motivate others, you inspire others, you give them a fierce message. Yay, where's your thumb? I didn't see your thumb up in the group. Like, why are you not coming? So there's always that, that teamwork. Someone's looking for you. You have that sense of purpose that, in any team, like not just sports, that is very, very special. And of course, the activeness, that the exercise, the pushing one another, the motivating one another, that there's just no feeling like it, like to be on the boat, to be in a race, to be a part of that win, or to feel the lose afterwards. We all feel that lose together. So there's always, we have the braai, we still party, we have the loudest war cry even on days that we lose, and we love it. Like, people love listening to us. Yes, and you.
Yeah.
And so yeah, there's so yeah, there's a lot of special in sports. There isn't another thing for it. Yeah.
And there's only one dragon Oshi.
Hariyoshi, yes.
Hariyoshi.
So yeah, we have space in our boat. We have space.
Listen, you've been trying to get me in that boat for the last 5 years. I'm coming. I'm coming. I'm coming.
That seat is open. That seat is open.
I'm coming. I promise you.
It's not going to be an easy one. I'll tell you that.
Raheemah, I don't think he's gonna make the boat go faster.
No, look, I'm dead weight at the back.
But
as long as I can go,
aerodynamics,
I'm
what you
okay.
mean? There's no
Look,
resistance
I've got
to the.
aerodynamics, right?
You can sit at the front of the boat, break the wind.
I'll have to go to sit first to learn
He
how
can
to smack.
drum.
Raheemah,
I'll give
I
him
was
a
gonna tell
drumstick. You can drum our boat.
you can be the beat. You can be
No,
the
no,
beat,
no, no,
Elton.
no.
Have you seen
But-
Alton's rhythm?
I'll be the commentator. Easiest job, happy. I love that job. Anyway, from your perspective, why would I want to do sport? How does it affect my life? What are the benefits
Well-
from a mental health and
Well, you
physical
see-
ability?
You see, from my perspective, what I do is I support the sporting codes. So it doesn't matter what sport you do. It matters that I can facilitate the right strength, fitness level, cardiovascular fitness, all of that stuff from my perspective. So what does that mean? It means that I could make you a better sports person, which basically elevates your team's prestige as well as your ability to perform better. But it's just understanding what it is that you've got to do and then follow through. I think from a mental wellness perspective, it's more to do with having the consistency of something. Like I told this to one or two of the new trainers at Virgin the other day. I said to them, you need to get to the point where you realize how important you are in that person's life that you are looking after. So mine is not sports related. And I said to them, just think about this. How many people dedicate 2 hours a week to come and see you and you alone? How many people do that? How important must you be for them to earmark and take that time out of their week to dedicate towards that? So from a sporting perspective, you've got to look at it from that perspective also, is the people that are making the time to come and do the sport, that is putting aside that time, how important are you to the other team members and vice versa? Because it's the community that we are building around what we are doing that makes the impact so much more on your mental wellness. I mean, I only went back to the gym because I was struggling with my own mental wellness. Being online during COVID, doing Facebook sessions, all of that kind of stuff. It was Salim. Okay, thank you, Salim. I was like, where did that message go? I thought we were on Facebook now. I was like, yo, why? How cool. But anyway, and moving back to Virgin Active was for my own mental wellness. I was probably depressed, spending all of my time in front of a screen, chilling here, helping people do what they want to do, but then I wasn't able to do what I wanted to do for myself at the same time. So going and being part of a community of like-minded individuals, whatever sport it is, whatever you choose, that is the key to break through, regardless of what it is that you are going to do. Does that make sense?
And that's the key, is that it's an individual perspective. It's not a team. It's not even though you're in a team. Salim's in a cricket team. Raheemah's in a dragon boating team of 22 people. We still need to account and show up as Alton. I need to account and be present as Alton to make the team successful. Even though there's no I in team, all the I's make up one team. And that's the key. And we need to be focusing on building each other as a community, as a tribe, as Saleem calls it, to be able to help each other along the journey to be successful and to make things happen as a group and collective. You know, Tim Bliggenhout says, "Amen, Sid." He agrees with your sentiments. So,
Oh,
Greg
thank
says,
you, Tim. I have no idea. Oh, thank you. You
Tim
don't have to
Bliggenhout-
agree. You're welcome to disagree also, because there is no right and the wrong way of doing this. It's about understanding what works for you and then turning it around and saying, like, for argument's sake, archery is not really a team sport, but it might be something that you want to do. No, Alton, you're looking at me like I'm talking nonsense. Archery is not a team sport, is it?
It is a team sport, my friend.
How?
You shoot as an individual, but there are competitions where the collective points add up, becomes a team sport, sir. FYI. But you'll park that there.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
You
my
parked it.
apologies. You see, this is why I chill in the gym and I don't worry about sporting codes and sitting on board rooms and all that kind of stuff. Let me do my thing here. I'm okay.
Saleem,
But
we had this
you get my
conversation
drift.
before we started, you know?
Don't offend people.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time. Tim
Fantastic.
says, and don't be apologetic for taking the time out for yourself through sport. 100%, Tim. 100%. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time. Whether you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, for sharing, please share the link with your friends. Interesting conversations about wellness. To the three of you, shukran. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you, Sid. All the best for you and Janae. For Ethan,
Thanks, man.
Raheemah,
Thank you.
3 is enough now for the crowd. I know you need to build for the 22, but stop.
I need my own Dragon Boat team.
Sir, Saleem, there's another 55,000 books in Athlone Library waiting for you, my friend. So
Thanks,
thank you.
Elton. Thanks very much for inviting us on your show and to your
Alton,
fellow
thank you
guests.
so much for the opportunity.
You're more than welcome. Please come back.
We'll have a reunion show at some point in time. Thanks again, Alton. It's been a pleasure.
Listen,
And for
I
everybody
can't
that's taken
remember
time
Thanks,
to
guys.
watch the show,
Come back, but
please.
anyway, yes,
Yeah, people mustn't forget to donate towards your fundraising thing that you are doing for the EDC. So, guys, I'm going to say it because Alton's not going to say it. He'll pop a link somewhere for you to go and donate something towards the EDC and these project that he's working with. So, guys, please support where you can. And even if it's just like a 10 Rand, you have no idea what a lot of 10 Rands can do. Okay. So yeah, go and support it. It's a good cause, and I hope to get the feedback from what's happening with regards to that project on the other side, Alton.
You will sit. Let me say tomorrow's a 224-kilometer cycle after 123K ride today. So and people can go on to allmysports-sa.com/events and donate $100. That's all I'm asking.
Oh, fantastic.
You want to raise 100K?
Cool.
Simple. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you so
everybody.
Bye,
much.
guys.
Keep well.
Thanks,
Bye,
everyone.
I need
Saleem.
to get some rest. You know, rest is key. The superpower. Hi, Saleem.
Sleep is the superpower, Elton. But take
All
it
right.
easy, man. All the best, eh? Cheers.
You too. See you soon.
Okay, bye.
Yes, Saleem.